Hi Leo, welcome to your November 2019 Astrology 33 bonus love reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And for those of you interested in booking a personal reading with me, just check out the description of the video for all the information you need there. As for what's in front of us, we have what I call a bridging the gap spread, and the way it works is the cards on the left side here represent your energy toward the connection with your main love interest. Cards on the right side represent their energy toward the connection. And these are the past energies, present energies, future energies. And as far as the decks being used, on the left side we have the Lover's Path Tarot, on the right side we have the Tarot of Sexual Magic. And also, once we get through the main spread, I forgot if I mentioned that or not, but once we get through the main spread, I'll attempt to pull some Oracle cards as well, and that's where the bridging the gap dynamic comes into play. Alright, so with that out of the way, in the past position on your side, we have the Princess of Staves. So this is actually the equivalent of the Knight of Wands, or excuse me, the Page of Wands. So Page of Wands energy, this could just be saying that you had a very playful vibe about you. The page doesn't necessarily represent any specific fire energy, it's just fire energy in general, but it tends to be a youthful, more playful energy. Definitely one to take action. I mean, as you could see in the artwork here, it definitely looks like she's ready to roll. She almost looks more like the knight, right, with the horse and everything, but you know, that could be the energy that you had, more of a laid-back, playful vibe about you. Maybe not taking it too seriously, but, you know, also having some fun. Past energy on their side, we have the Ten of Pentacles. So this is actually a Virgo energy. So for one, that could just be saying that you're dealing with the Virgo. Others of you, this might have even been someone that you worked with, that you had this connection with. And also, this could just be saying that they had a much more stable, secure energy as far as the connection goes. Maybe they viewed it as more of a serious connection, whereas maybe you viewed it a bit more casually. That's one way that the energies could be playing out. Another way as well, though, could just be saying that maybe they were financially fairly well off, and maybe, you know, maybe a little bit ahead of you as well. Maybe a bit older in age because of that, and then, you know, maybe just in different stages of their lives. All right, in the present position on your side, we have oppression, which is the equivalent of the Tower, and we have Seven of Arrows. So, I mean, I don't necessarily see a true indicator that the two of you were together in the past. So I'm not sure if this is directly related to them or not, quite frankly, but this is the Tower energy here, and then with the Seven of Swords, it can just be maybe that you found out, let's say, especially for those of you who weren't in a connection, maybe you found out that they were actually seeing other people, and that could be what's going on there. This actually represents Aquarius energy, so that's what makes me think it definitely was pertaining to a relationship, if not specifically with this person. But another way that this could be playing out too could also be one of those things where sometimes the Seven of Swords can also represent where you leave some things unsaid, and maybe also where you weren't putting a lot of energy into the connection, because like I said, with the Princess of Staves in the past position, can just be saying that you had a much more light and playful energy toward the connection. Because with the Seven of Arrows, I say it doesn't always necessarily represent infidelity. It can just represent, you know, let's say those two arrows that are in the ground, they represent the relationship itself, right? That's one person and the other person. And then with those five arrows, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're other people. It could just be that you had a lot of other things that you were focusing on in your life at the time. And, you know, I have to say that if they were in the Ten of Pentacles energy in the past, maybe they decided that that wasn't good enough for them, you know, so maybe they expressed to you that they wanted something more serious. So, you know, maybe that was what led to this feeling in the present where, you know, maybe you did have a thing for them, but maybe you just didn't necessarily see it as a long-term thing. So when they mentioned to you maybe that's what they were looking for, that might have caused separation between the two of you. I do have to at least say, though, that for some of you, this can just represent that maybe you were, especially with that Princess of Staves energy, which is that youthful page energy. Maybe some of you were actually being unfaithful as well. So it could play out a few different ways. Like I said, it could be you finding out about them or vice versa. Present energy on their side, we have the King of Chalices, which is a Scorpio energy, and we have the Seven of Chalices, which is another Scorpio energy, actually. So this could just be the energy they're putting on, because I mean, like we said in the past here, we see Virgo energy, now we see Scorpio. So it could be either of those signs or neither. But in relation to the connection with you, this could just be saying that maybe you felt at home with them, you know? So maybe you felt very comfortable with them and you thought things were going fine. But maybe at the same time, you know, like I said, maybe they just wanted something more stable than you did, and maybe they decided to break it off with you because it seemed like you were just taking it as much more of a casual thing. And, you know, obviously that could lead to disappointment for you if you did view them in that way. Or another way this could be playing out could be saying with the Seven of Chalices that maybe they had a lot of options on the table too. So, you know, and then maybe that's where that infidelity vibe comes from, right? So it could just be saying that it's actually them who had the other options with that Seven of Cups energy. And, you know, you found out about that and it might have led to heartbreak. And again, especially because I don't see any clear indicator that the two of you were even in a relationship in the past. Again, maybe this is just a love interest of yours and there's been no official relationship yet. That could even be where the disappointment comes in for you. You know, or maybe this is saying you had more of a youthful, naive perspective to the connection, like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to be together. And then, you know, maybe you found out that they had other options and that just really disappointed you, basically. And definitely, I will say, if you are dealing with a Scorpio, check out their reading because there was definitely like some vibes there with some Leo energy. So, something to keep in mind there. And the near future energy, we have the Five of Coins. So, this card is pretty self explanatory. It's that feeling left out in the cold. I mean, look at the artwork here. But one thing I do have to say here in particular is definitely be careful with this because, like I said, with that Princess of Staves energy on a more negative, that could be perceived as a bit reckless. And definitely, if it's you guys doing the Seven of Swords thing where maybe it's sleeping around a bit, definitely watch out because not only do we see the woman's holding a baby there, but also at the bottom of the deck on your side, we have fertility. So normally this is called the Empress in the regular tarot, and normally I do see Empress, and a lot of other readers do too, as an indicator of potential pregnancy. But you put these two energies together and what we already covered, definitely something to be mindful of there. So definitely watch out around a potential unwanted or unexpected pregnancy. I do want to at least put the warning out there. It is in the future position, so it looks like it still could be avoided, but definitely something to keep in mind there, especially if that's not something you guys are looking for. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing there. And, you know, this could just also be a continuation of the energy we were talking about, too, where, like I said, maybe for some of you, it was actually you who had more of a naive, open, playful vibe that, oh, we're going to be together, right? And then time goes on and you find out that you were just one of many options they had and they didn't really necessarily see it moving in that direction. So you feel this way now where, you know, you might have been the one with the Princess of Staves, like, because that can also be an innocent energy. So it can just be saying you had this whole innocent view around it and maybe saw a future with them. You were envisioning all these things already. And you know, they might have just said that it was more of a casual thing for them, and then you're just feeling that left out in the cold vibe in that regard. So something to keep in mind there. And maybe that's even what the Ten of Pentacles represents. It could just be saying that they represented that, you know, they presented a very stable, settled energy to you, and maybe that's what you found attractive about them, but, you know, there was no necessary indicator that they were hoping to build a long-term relationship with you. And especially with Mercury retrograde this month too, there's going to be all kinds of craziness going on. So something to keep in mind there. And then near future energy on their side, we have the Seven of Wands. So this is actually a Leo energy. And what's interesting is this also represents Usually it's defending yourself. So this could just be saying that they're defending themselves to you, right? Like if you feel that they've been fooling around and maybe you call them out on it, this could just be saying that they're defending themselves in that regard. I do have to say, usually it means successfully so, too. So, again, because of the retrograde energy that I mentioned, and especially if you are dealing with a Scorpio, because the retrograde is going to be in their sign, be mindful of misunderstandings, too. Like, this could all just be stuff playing out in your mind where you're thinking that all this stuff is going on. And, maybe you're feeling left out in the cold, but then, come to find out, they might clear it up with you like, no, I'm not, doing any of this stuff, So maybe that could just be saying that you might be fearing the worst, but it's not actually how it's going down. Of course, for some of you, it can be that it's exactly what it looks like to you and they are doing those things, but since the Seven of Wands in the upright normally does represent defending yourself successfully, I do have to at least put out there that for some of you, just try to be careful around jumping to conclusions because it might be that they're not doing anything wrong. But, I do have to say, if we look at the person's facial expression there, he does look a little shady, like his facial expressions. I'll give you that. So that's what I'm saying. For some of you, yeah, 100%, it's as bad as it looks on the surface. And I hate to say that because that's, not a message you like to give people as a reader. So definitely be careful too, especially around sleeping around too. But also at the same time, if this is just more where you're letting your mind get away with you, right? With the Seven of Swords energy, maybe just holding on to things and not expressing it to them. That could just be saying that watch out for that, where you might jump to a conclusion and then find out that it wasn't what you thought. So hopefully that made sense. That was a lot. But we'll see if the Oracle cards add anything additional to the mix. So first I'm going to see if we can get some messages from the Mystic Moon Oracle deck here. And for those of you who haven't seen this type of reading from me before, the way it works is I do pre-shuffle the deck before we start recording. And then I'm actually going to be looking for jumpers here as far as unspoken messages from you to them and then from them to you. And what I do is I shuffle for a bit, and if nothing comes up, I just take that as a sign to keep it moving since it is just a general reading. But, we'll see what happens. I'll shuffle for a bit, see if we get something from you to them first. All right, nothing coming up yet, but I'll give it a few more shuffles before we move on. Okay, nothing there. So next I'll see if there's any unspoken messages from them to you. All right, almost had one there, but nothing yet. Give it a few more. Oh, got one. All right. All right, so I do have to say that for at least some of you, the infidelity thing that you're suspecting, is definitely on point because the unspoken message from them to you is how could you still love me after all I've done? So yeah. So for those of you who were feeling like, no, this is really what's happening and we're looking for confirmation, I mean, that seems pretty self-explanatory there. So once again, though, that still doesn't change the message of what I was saying, which is, definitely be careful around sleeping with other people if you're not, looking to get pregnant, because that does still seem to be a risk there. And like I said, since it is still in the future position, I do still feel it can be avoided, not that this is an indicator that you're already pregnant. So something to keep in mind there. Like I said, but yeah, for those of you who are definitely feeling like no, or even if you've confirmed it rather, that yes, they are doing that, well, that could be how they're feeling about the situation. All right, and lastly, we'll try to pull a card from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck here. And same situation, I did pre-shuffle this one before we started recording. And I'm just looking for one card here, and then we'll wrap up. Alright, nothing's coming up yet. I'm going to shuffle a bit longer because I do want to get one card from here. Alright, got one there. Hold on. Alright, it's a leg up. Interesting. We'll see how that actually plays into the reading. Oh, also, sorry, I forget to do that with this reading sometimes, but there's the artwork, and it's number 34. Okay, it says receiving help, delegating authority, interdependence. The Oracle's message: you've come to a point where going it alone is no longer optimal for you. Life has a way of presenting you with the perfect people to align with who can give you a leg up during this next phase of your journey. Help comes to you in all the areas of your life where you need a boost. The trick is to accept that aid so freely given. When you embrace interdependence, allowing teamwork and independence to commingle, miracles happen. Now is such a time. You know what came to my mind too with the part where it says you've come to a point where going it alone is no longer optimal for you? This can just be one of those things where, like I said, maybe for some of you, this is more the energy that you were in, where you were in a more playful, youthful vibe, right? Where you just were taking everything very casually, and maybe what ended up happening was maybe you came across someone who you actually viewed as long-term relationship material, and that actually changed your viewpoint. Where like, wow, I actually could see a relationship with this person, but then come to find out that they weren't that serious about you, but it's, so the lesson there was it still helped you see that, you know what, maybe I would like a long-term relationship, you know what I mean? Maybe that's how it played out for some of you. All right, the relationship message says relationships that are healthy thrive on interdependence. It's important to recognize that you need others as much as they need you. You must allow people to support you just as you are there for them. This is a time to be vulnerable, to speak up about your needs, and to ask for them to be fulfilled. Trust. You will be met with kindness and love. Don't expect others to read your mind, though. Ask and it is given. So that's an interesting message there, too, where I like the part where it says, don't expect others to read your mind, ask and it is given, because that makes me think of what I was saying with the Seven of Arrows, where maybe you're leaving a lot of things unsaid, and then maybe on their end, because of that, they're making assumptions that are owned with that Seven of Cups energy, And especially because with the Scorpio reading too, I got that vibe where there was like just a lot of unspoken words between both sides. And it led to assumptions, and it looked like it, with that energy, it could lead to things going off the rail. So especially if you're dealing with the Scorpio, this could just be a continuation of that energy, which is to say that unfortunately, because both of you might be making assumptions, it might end up snowballing into this potentially really big issue. So something to keep in mind there. And then, like I said, though, with this message coming out as one of the Oracle cards, it definitely does show that, yes, for some of you, it's exactly what it looks like. But obviously, that's not going to be the case for everyone. So for those of you who are more just stuck in your head and actually don't have tangible proof of anything, maybe it would be best to at least speak up about it and see what's going on there. All right. So, well, actually, you know what? And since this did seem like a bit of harsh reading, I'll also read the protection message from the deck here for this card. So we'll see if that helps any of you too and resonates in some way. It says, are you always insisting on doing everything yourself? Do you have little faith that help will come, convinced that the burden of the world is doomed to remain on your shoulders? Your beliefs about going it alone need to be discarded, as they do not serve you at all. Let others help you. Yes, it will make you feel vulnerable to admit you need a helping hand, but to be vulnerable is good, for you have a lesson to learn. You must let someone else assist. You can't do life all by yourself. Once you shift your expectations, you'll be amazed by how quickly help arrives to give you a leg up. So, hopefully that resonates for some of you as well. Like I said, definitely seems like a bit of a rough reading, but in general, I mean, try not to jump to conclusions, especially with the retrograde energies, but also, especially if you're dealing with a Scorpio, check out their reading. Maybe that'll give you some additional insight as to what's going on here. But we'll wrap up there, and I'll see you all next month. All right, bye.